Hey guys, welcome back. It's Hybrid Spectre. So, I know I've been away for a little while. I haven't done a lore video in a long while, and I started a new job, and I've just kind of been busy with that. Haven't really had much time, and didn't really feel like really playing Destiny all that much, because Shadows Die Twice came out, and Destiny just kind of hit that point, like it always does, where you just need to stop playing for a little bit. So, I finally forced myself to get on and to do a lore video. So, this is a book that I've been wanting to do for a long while. I just haven't really had the time to do it. And this is the Book of Unmaking. You get this book doing the Last Word quest that you get from the Drifter, alongside the Letters from a Renegade, which we already did. So, today, it's the Book of Unmaking. Chapter 1. Cages. Flesh and mind are but cages. Become unbound, or remain ever unworthy. This flesh, your flesh, is weak, old, handed down by priors unworthy of evolution. Had those before been more than common, your flesh would not be this flesh, their flesh, but other, new. New is never given, but claimed. To claim evolution, one must be unmade, free of cages, flesh and mind. Evolution is claimed only through our unmaking. First understanding, 7th Book of Sorrow. These pages and the understandings gleaned are our best efforts at a translation of incomplete discovery. The exact intent of the Hive's ceremonies in regard to their varied ideals regarding evolution is beyond our current knowledge. Nonetheless, we continue to piece together truths from dead words and arcane ritual. The purpose of our efforts, however sinister they may appear, is to grasp the unknown so it may be challenged should the time come when we are faced with its ire. Hand-scrawled note accompanying Teban Gray's personal translation of ancient Hive text. This little thing here is going to be at the end of every single one of these, so I'm only going to read it once and at the end. So, 2. Freedom. The mind is complacent. The flesh has made it so. Possibility limited by stunted imagination, stunted through familiarity. This comfortable life is no life, fleeting, made to decay. Those born only to live to be replaced cannot see eternity, nor are they welcome here. The unwelcome are the unworthy are a disease. Cleanse thyself of your decay. Then will the mind be free to understand the value of transgression. It is a sin to carve upon the flesh, but by whose law is your prison made hallow. Mortal flesh is a prison that makes liars of our beautiful caged minds. Second understanding, 7th Book of Sorrow. Our search began with a legend, Dredgen Yor, the hated scourge upon the Guardian's good name. Any attempts to seek details of his deeds were met with dismissal. The Vanguard would not see us, uniformly, not just on an individual basis, but by some long-standing internal decree. Lord Shaxx came at us with threats. He's very protective of his charge as overseer of the Crucible. None of us blame him. The competition is vital to Guardian survival, both in the way it forcibly hones skill and how it serves as a necessary dual role as morale booster and stress reliever. There are few places a Guardian can let loose, like they can in the controlled arenas of the Shaxx's quarantined fighting pits. The hand-scrawled note. 3. Self. Before one can be freed, one must question the truth of their purest identity. And so a question is begged. Who resides at the core of your being? Only honest reflection will see you, lone traveler, through the coming storm. Look then clearly upon the whole of your existence and face your glory. Strength of will, every flaw of your mortal heart and fabled soul. Through the pieces of a life lived, divine your truth. Of a life lived, divine your truth, but do not lie to the world, if one must, but never to yourself. To see yourself as anything but what you truly are will lead you down sorrow's road, unprepared for the consequences of your salvation. Once an understanding is met, and the self is purified in the knowledge of its truth, the cage is set to be unbound. Know thyself in honest ways, or falter in light of your truest self. Third understanding, 7th Book of Sorrow. The search for the truth of Yor's tale was not easy. If official records existed, they were hidden beyond our purview, and the realities of the legend were tracked only by word of mouth. The fabled Dwindler's Ridge was not on any map. The burnt ground where Palamon once stood wasn't marked as anyone's sacred site, and the renegade who felled Yor had not been seen for some time following that fated showdown. Despite all of this, we were not deterred. If anything, Orsa and I and the others who followed were driven by the difficulty of our chosen task, that a guardian could be corrupted, our gifts twisted, not by greed or lust or power, but by influences beyond petty human desires, was a concern greater, maybe, than any other. We were not honored with our return because of some inherent... Were we not honored with our return because of some inherent nobility? If so, how could one of us, any of us, fall to damnation? Or was this heroic interpretation of our role in the grander scheme nothing more than the surest sign of our blind innocence? After all, it feels good to imagine oneself a hero, morally superior and standing tall on the side of righteous hope. The question we would ask then is simple. How well do we, any of us, truly know ourselves? Whispers. Seek the whispers. They are faint, but they are calling. Not all bone carries the sound of secret truth. Most are fragile, hollow things meant only to carry the weight of wasted lives. In the fetid remnants of yearning marrow and love, find life, and in their lies you will discover the narrow road to all you never dreamed to be. However, whispers are but sound, as is the breeze. Not all who listen can share its purpose. Know thyself. Listen well, and do not fear when the whispers carve their welcome. Rejoice. The agony of the cutting word is a boon to those who embrace its severed logic. The cutting word is a doorway, the first syllable of hated salvation. On the path of the hushed tones, the cutting word will guide your unmaking. Fourth understanding, 7th Book of Sorrow. Excuse me. We found the craft, undisturbed in low orbit, its course synchronized to the exact coordinates of its master's final resting place, some 1,800 kilometers below. We'd suspect an anomaly in its mechanics on approach. Locking to the faint ping of its nav drive, our instruments detected a low, guttural whine, otherwise lost in the vacuum of the post-atmosphere and emptiness between worlds. Its tethering, the fact that it was chained to a specific coordinates of the ridge, was not directly linked to the craft's onboard systems, but instead to desire. The ship was waiting in pained anguish for his return. The hull was more of husk, harsh and jagged from the growth. We'd never seen a ship crusted in the bone of unknown death, but were more intrigued than concerned. The whispers started on approach, faint, hushed. Moments later, our ears began to bleed. Purpose. The whispers are many, a legion of liars and demons, set to challenge your resolve. Hear the words, but know they question your truth. The journey forth is not direct, but a shifting maze meant to discard the unworthy. Salvation does not want you. Evolution does not care. The whispers are your guide and your undoing. Mark their words, but do not follow blind. To follow blindly is to sacrifice oneself to the abyss, becoming not one, but one of the many, another lost soul. The truth of the hushed intent is mired that fools may never know the glories of their grand purpose. Lose yourself not in the whisper's words, but in their purpose. Fifth understanding, seventh book of sorrow. You have to understand, we were still very new to the path we tread. Boarding yours derelict craft in search of our first answers was the act of children, ignorant to the truths and the dangers that marked our journey. It wasn't until later, when more pieces of the whole were uncovered, that we grasped the reality of the odd white noise gnawing at the edges of our thoughts. Anymore we call them whispers, but then, in those early days, as we approached and then entered the craft, its kit-bashed roll cage, still identifiable where it wasn't overcrusted in the dark, uneven horror of bone. We mistook their siren call for feedback from a dying ship's failing systems. We were fools. Orsa found the scribbled glyphs on the thick leather inside the craft that once, long ago, belonged to Yor. We couldn't identify the origin of the writing at that time, much less translate, though we'd heard all the stories of the Hive, an ancient evil, and an ancient battle that turned Luna into a forbidden zone. Most held them as folklore, scary stories to counteract our natural curiosity and keep brave guardians from venturing beyond their means. And while we had our theories about Dredgen Yor and how his fall was linked to the nightmare tales of wicked creatures born of bone and shadow, we were cautious not to let assumption guide our inquisition. Focus. Once the word has cut its meaning upon the very essence of you, there will come an understanding of potential. When imagined, your potential will infect and spread. It will be the all of you, all-consuming, and the promise of all you can be. Do not allow yourself the confidence of all you hope to achieve. If you dwell on that which is beyond your grasp, you will lose sight of the whisper's purpose, and your end will be an end, and nothing more. Maintain your truth from first cut to last embrace, or all you will achieve shall be the echoes of your scream against eternity. Let go of all that is to come, to linger there, on the promise of rewards yet earned. Will see you lost, never to return. Sixth understanding, seventh book of sorrow. Standing on the ridge as the sun fell, Orsa and I held a silent communion. I remember peace in that moment, peace and acceptance. The course we had set was not frivolous curiosity, but a real, solid, important investigation into an outlawed tragedy that had claimed one of our forebears. Who was Yor? Not just at his end, but prior, before madness had consumed him. Could his life inform our own? Could its lessons prevent any other from such a violent downfall? We'd been warned there were no answers waiting down this road, only sorrow. Standing there, the fading light, the tall grass, and the scorched circle where a villain was gunned down and nothing grew. The weight of answers to come was not our concern. The understanding earned on the journey forward would be their own reward. Every step would make us new. Every discovery would further our grasp on the unknown worlds beyond the light. Joining. As the whispers grow, madness threatens the edges of your sanity. The flaying comes not by blade, but through the joining of flesh and bone. The bone will find purchase, taking hold of what once was weak. To force the joining is to abandon focus. Allow the flesh to give of itself, that it may surrender to the coming evolution. Grant yourself patience. Your prison of the flesh is being unmade. Your mind is freed. Such glories do not come easy. There will be no peace now, not for some time. Only through a joining of the known and unknown can your path be made new. Seventh understanding, seventh book of sorrow. It was some time later when Orsa came to me with writings from a cryptarch's archives. We spent a long while attempting to translate the glyphs found on your ship, to no avail. Great care was taken into furthering of our investigation. We weren't hiding our work, per se, but it was not advertised. We'd been scolded and warned enough times that we knew to continue our efforts in private as best as we could. By this point, the vanguard ranks had shifted. Brask was no fan of our work, but he was reasonable. His exo replacement was more pointed in his dismissal, a byproduct of his relationship with Lord Shax. I'd imagine, but that's neither here nor there. We traded with many cryptarchs over the years, and Orsa had long since made it a point to get on their good side. Even still, it took some convincing and full-on bribery to eventually get hands on the tomes needed to crack the mystery of the arcane texts. The books and writings we secured from the tradesmen were incomplete and mostly scholarly guesswork, but there were enough translations and competent theory to provide a foundation for our own interpretations. It wasn't long before the pieces started to fall into place. We still had much to learn, but we were certain of a few key ingredients. Yor had been to Luna. Whether his corruption began there or led him there was still unknown, and the glyphs he'd etched spoke of a great unmaking, the truth of which would be our own. Secrets. The whispers you hear, some say they always have. All you have learned from the quiet words pales to the secrets you scream as your cage starts to bend, as the old you starts to break. The whispers listen, the whispers learn. Every shrill agony etches a map of the mortal condition. Every wicked cry adds to a vast tapestry of understandings. In your pain, the whispers find their answers to your worth. When the flesh is gone and only bone remains, there will be no secrets left to scream. No pain that it may teach you all you never imagined possible. Eighth understanding, seventh book of sorrow. Unmaking. For the longest time we thought it was a threat, but as our work continued and we deciphered more and more of the glyphs, we came to see it as something more, a promise. Yours etchings were a roadmap, arcane and cryptic, but with specific intent. Old research hinted at mysterious tomes labeled as books of sorrow. It was theorized by researchers long before our time that the Hive had their own set of holy texts, evidence of which had been gathered before the Great Disaster. These books were believed to be archives of Hive ritual and history, chronicling royal bloodlines and varied ceremonies and rites of passage. We were uncertain of the place yours etchings held in the overall picture of Hive legend, but they fit our understanding of these fabled books. As such, through hubris or educated conclusion in a distinction I'll leave to others to decide, we choose to collect our translations in accordance as a new entry into the supposed Library of Sorrow, a seventh book we call it. And writing this now, upon reflection in the last days before the next stage in our journey, I know, we were right to do so. Embrace. As the old self falls away, there will only be suffering. None can sustain in the face of absolution, yet evolution demands sacrifice. Pain must be accepted as the new constant, or pain will be the all of you. As the white noise of your screams drowns the whispers, you will feel alone. You are alone. Is this eternity or oblivion? You will see yourself, outside yourself, and you will long to embrace this new evolution. A beacon on the far end of lost hope. Yet you will know, through the pain, through the fear, there is no longer a you that was, only what comes next, and all the pain to follow. Do not linger on the coming embrace. Your unmaking is yours alone, a solitary journey devoid of peace. Ninth understanding, seventh book of sorrow. Any guardian with interest in old nightmares has heard stories of the weapons of sorrow, deadly tools said to be infected and warped by twisted science verging on mysticism. In particular, Thorn, the cursed weapon of the light killer, Dredgen Yor. But such tools of destruction were only rumor. There was direct evidence of Yor having been a vile bastard, but the legends of his sickly weapon and the disease it spread seemed exaggerated. Another ghost story to warn of unknown dangers, but our translations of ancient Hive text seems to point to truth in the legend. The Hive had rituals for forced evolution, and what we found hinted at transmutation through corruption, degradation, and rebirth. The weapons of sorrow were real. Worse, they were a roadmap to a greater threat, a greater evil. And with this realization, our determination to uncover Yor's full truth was bolstered by new, terrifying questions. What if the horrors of Yor's deeds were not the endgame? What if his evolution was simply the byproduct of a grander design? What if he was nothing more than a side effect of an ancient arms race, and the weapons we feared from days long past were nothing more than touchstones on a roadmap to devastation beyond anything we can imagine? What if sorrow was just a pit stop on the road to our coming annihilation? Hand-scrawled note accompanying Teban Gray's personal translation of ancient Hive text. So, that is the Book of Unmaking, and for those of you who are a little bit confused, from what I can understand from this is that this Book of Unmaking here is basically Hive, I guess you could say Hive ritual of evolution, or perhaps what's a better word for it? Mindsets and cultures, I guess you could say. That would probably be leaning more towards the Books of Sorrow, but that's for another video entirely. But from what I can understand of this is that this is basically Hive. This is basically Hive's the Hive's reasoning on evolution, or perhaps their way of explaining evolution, however cryptic it may be, coupled with the research of Guardians looking into the legend of Dredgen Yor. So that is the Book of Unmaking. So, and I'm going to leave a little bit of a channel update here. I know I've been away for a while, and my job is like that. I work crazy hours, and for some of you who don't already know, I don't get paid to make YouTube videos. I never will, because YouTube's just fun. It's fun for me, and that's the way it should be. So YouTube is purely a hobby for me. You will not see me make any money off this, and I would prefer to keep it that way. So, which is why you're going to see very infrequent uploads, and I also have a job outside of this, as you already know. But getting to the point of this, I want to expand my lore videos. I don't want to keep my lore videos strictly isolated to Destiny, because from my analytics, I can see that my lore videos get a lot of traction. Like, you got, like, what was it? Man, they called Cade 6. Where'd that go? Where did that go? I just had it here. The Man, they called Cade 6. Right here. That has over 1,000 views. Like, you guys really like these lore videos. Like, I get a couple hundred views on these lore videos at a time, and that's impressive. That is impressive to me. So, I kind of pose this to you, my viewers. Would you like to see more lore videos, not just isolated to Destiny? Because I'm going to be doing that regardless. But I don't want to keep my lore videos strictly isolated to Destiny, because you guys have told me that you guys love it when I read these, and I enjoy reading these, but they do take a lot of work. They take a lot of work to do. I have to find them. I kind of have to play to get these lore books, and when Destiny hits dry patches like it does now, I don't really feel like playing, and then they take longer to do. So when Destiny does hit these dry periods, I would still like to upload lore videos where I'm just reading to you guys. So if you guys would like to see more lore videos, sound that out down in the comments, because I would love to expand my lore videos, and I plan to. I don't want to keep my lore videos strictly isolated to Destiny. So, and if you guys have any other games that have lore that you'd like me to read, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not doing Dark Souls, because I am not well versed enough in Dark Souls to do that, and plus Vadi Vidya, like, there are lots of more competent lore masters in the Dark Souls community that I can't even hold a candle up to it. I call myself a lore scholar. I just like to read the lore and look into it. So, and let's see, I think we have this lore book done here. So we're gonna read the Forsaken Prince next time. So this will probably be a 2-part, because look at how long this thing is. This is 3 pages long. So, and the last lore book that I did that took this long was nearly over an hour long, and not a lot of people watched it, and it was the Dawning lore book, and quite frankly, that one wasn't really all that great. So Forsaken Prince is gonna happen next. What I'm probably gonna do is I'm gonna split this up into 3 parts. Whoops, there it goes. I might do this. The Forsaken Prince might be a 2-part. I might just read the first, the first 10 books, the first 10 chapters here, and then I might read the last 11 here, depending on how long they are. We'll see what happens, but Forsaken Prince is going to happen next. So I'm going to upload the Book of Unmaking for right now, and expect to see more lore videos from various other games. The gameplay videos will still be coming. Rainbow Six Siege videos, those won't be coming anymore, mainly because I kind of got burned out with the game. I don't really enjoy it anymore. I don't really have the time for it anymore, and it demands a level of skill that I don't have. And some of the videos that I posted there, that's just kind of where, like, I clearly have the skill to do it, but it's one of those games that I have to play consistently to keep my edge, and I simply don't have the patience to do that. So no more Rainbow Six Siege videos, unfortunately. I just kind of got sick of it. Generation Zero, you're going to see some videos with me and my friend Big War Boar. So gameplay videos aren't going anywhere. That's kind of the focal point of my channel, and I think my channel would be missing something if I didn't upload gameplay videos. So yeah, that's kind of the little bit of a channel update and roadmap of what's to come. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys in the next one.